NX1, Connectivity and Menu Walkthrough. Now I'm working on a complete review of the Samsung NX1, and when I'm done it will be the first link right down below this video, so check for that if you're interested in seeing the full review. But what I want to talk about in this video is the connectivity options. There's a lot of them and they make me happy. And a walkthrough of the menu system to give you a tour and explain what all of those different features are. I want to start by talking about the connectivity options of the Samsung NX1. That is, ways to get pictures out of here wirelessly. You've got a dedicated button on the back that will bring up three options. Mobile Link will select photos from your smartphone, so you have to run the Samsung Camera Manager program, iOS or Android available. It's a decent program. It's gotten a little buggy on me a couple times on Android, but for the most part it really works quite nicely. And it's simply, you fire that up, you open the program on your phone, and you can see the pictures you've taken, select the ones you want to transfer. Remote Viewfinder is pretty straightforward. That gives you remote capture abilities from your smartphone. You have full control over the camera. You can set what program mode you're in, manual, shutter, priority, aperture priority program, and you can apply filters and adjust your shutter speed. All of that stuff is available to you, and then of course transfer over the images you're taking. You can also use it as your phone as a Bluetooth shutter, which is very simple in that case. You've got a button to take a picture or to start recording if you want to do a video. Quick Transfer is an interesting feature that I haven't decided how I feel completely about it yet, but what it does is, once this is running, and you can see right now it is running for me, every picture I take, a small thumbnail is transferred over to my phone. And then I have the option of selecting that thumbnail on the phone, and the full resolution will be transferred over. You have the option of transferring over larger resolutions automatically, and that, with a camera like this that has a burst rate somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 frames a second, could be an issue. So you want to be careful about that, but that option is there. Those are ways to connect it to your smartphone. But as it's thinking here, processing that 12 frames a second, if I come into the play here and bring up this burst rate that I just selected, and let's just, well, actually, yeah, sure, let's go to the monkey. And we have a little mail or envelope icon right there. You can touch that, and now I've already set this camera up to be able to connect to my Wi-Fi. It was really easy with this touchscreen. I just simply had to select my Wi-Fi access point on the touchscreen and then put in a password. And then I can simply email this to me right here. I can just say whoever I want to send it to and hit enter, and I can write a little message. Yes, I know. Let's just do menu back. Let's do the drop down. And next, here's the picture sent from there, and I can type in more if I want, but I don't want to. So I'm just going to hit send, and it has sent. It is not the full resolution file. It is a decent size, I think around 2 megabytes in size. That is quite nice that it's sent that. Now, another thing that I can do from here, well, that is connected to your Wi-Fi. If you have a smartphone that can act as a hotspot, it can certainly connect to that, and directly from the field, anywhere that you have cell service, or data service I should say, you can send off a picture to somebody. A little, again, as I said, these don't make the camera take better pictures, they don't make you a better photographer, but they are nice functions and features that I really do appreciate and feel like a nice step forward. We also have this little button right here that allows you to send off to your smartphone a PC. If you've set this up, it does require you to wire your camera to the PC once through the USB cord and set this up. But once it's set up, you can find a PC that you've designated as a backup, and it will automatically send the files over. I can't tell you the number of times I get asked from people using the Nikon and the Canon wireless software, but mostly the Nikon, can I send files to my laptop? And the answer is no. The Wi-Fi features of the Nikon cameras do not allow that. On the Canon side, it does. It's a little clunky to set up, but I have to say that this is really impressive. And then if you've got a fancy TV or one of these other devices and the whole kind of Samsung ecosystem and the DNLA ecosystem, you can easily share those images over. And in some cases with the TVs, if you've got one that can talk to the camera, your remote for your TV can actually move your slideshow through. I think that's pretty snazzy. Not something I'm going to use anytime soon. One of the things that I like moving on from connectivity to kind of just the interface and form and function is it is a touchscreen, of course. You can swipe left and right very easily, and you can pinch to zoom. We'll come back to that in a second. But you can also do things like swipe down, which gives you a different menu. Again, it's taken this touchscreen idea that we've had in our smartphones for a while now and really applied it nicely to the camera. Oh, look, it's even telling me that it's new firmware. I've had this camera for about 3 weeks now, maybe 2, and I've gotten 2 firmware updates in that. Well, 1 was already out. So this nice screen right here, you've got the Bluetooth, that's how the quick function works. You've got the Wi-Fi that it's connected to, and I could turn those on and off to save power. We've got a nice battery indicator here, not just bars, but an actual percentage, and a storage indicator. And we have our display brightness here too that we can adjust. Now, that's not great if you leave it on auto, because that can give you a different opinion about your exposure if you're using this to determine what your exposure is going to be and not just looking at your exposure meter. So you have to be careful about that display brightness and leaving it on automatic. We can just swipe that away. Now I said that we were going to come back to this, so we could pinch to zoom and come in closer on this monkey. And one of the things we can do right from the screen is touch function to crop it, or over here on the right, touch function to crop it. And yeah, I'm going to crop this image, and now I've got that image. Just that simple. I just simply displayed it on the screen the size I wanted by zooming in. I actually don't know. I've never tried. How close will it allow us to get? Sure. That close. So now I've gotten 3 images. That one. There should be one more. Oh, maybe it was before the burst. So, yep, there it is. Just like that. And you can see down here in the bottom, nice information. The first one is a 23 megapixel image. This one is 3000 by 2000. And this one is 720 by 480. So much smaller, obviously, but still allowed me to do that. And I think that's pretty snazzy. You can go into the menu here. And these are the menu items for both setup and playback. So let's start with playback and just run through the menu of this. So we can delete an image. We can protect it so it won't accidentally get deleted. We can have an overexposure guide on or off. That gives you the blinky highlights in the overexposure area. You can rotate your images. If you have taken time-lapse images, you can play them back here. You can start a slideshow of your image. This is pretty standard stuff. You can edit an image. So here's the image. And now I can come in here and change the color, contrast, saturations, all of these adjustments. Again, other cameras offer this as well, but with this touchscreen, coupled with this touchscreen, it is quite nice. And we can come over here and do a face retouch on the monkey. No face was detected, so that's an automatic thing that I imagine it does a little bit of smoothing. And we can come into our smart filters, and we have all of these, whoopsie. We have all of these filters available to us, including the selective colors. Very gimmicky, but they're there. Auto rotate on, sort, view, continuous. When I took that series burst rate of images, you should have noticed here that if we come right here, it's represented as this little stack of images saying, hey, you basically took a whole bunch of images of the same. We're going to put them together instead of showing you them all at once. You can touch this to expand it out and then work through each of those. And right now it is switching images. You can see the number is changing up here, but because the camera was sitting still and nothing was happening, every image looks exactly the same. Not too exciting. You can turn that off as your option. Fold or unfold. And then we're back to there. So pretty simple setup on the playback. For our kind of customization of the playback menu, turn whether your sound on, you can hear these little click, click, click sounds. Your quick view, that's the review. Display adjustments, this is where your brightness and whether or not auto brightness is on. Let's turn that off. How long the display stays on, your power save, helpful information, date and time. The AnyNet Plus, I was kind of referencing this when I was talking about connecting it to TVs. That's an option available to you as well. HDMI output. Your options here are all of these, including the clean outs, which will allow you to record directly from this camera into an external device and gives you some professional level control. USB connection, what the file names and format, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, smartphone, you can see that what it's connected to and what's available to it. Whether or not you set the time from your smartphone when it's connected to it, and your smartphone should always be talking to the cell towers and getting the best time, so it'll keep your camera time set up as well. You can set up a lock so that nobody can access the Wi-Fi functions of your camera without the password. You can switch from 2.4 to 5 gigahertz as well, which is pretty snazzy. Sensor cleaning and reset the whole camera. That was it. That was the playback menu. Now let's dive into the camera's shooting menu. So we've got 3 new options over here on the left-hand side. And this is all touch sensitive, but I'm using the dial over here to mostly keep my fingers out of the way and keep things normal for you. So you've got Touch AF. That means that you can touch on the screen to focus. And focus in good light I've found to be very, very good. The other options that you have there under Touch AF, turn it off, AF point. So you change the AF point, but no focus tracking AF, and one touch shot. I don't know anybody who ever turns this on. Well, there are times where it might be useful. That is, when that is on, when I touch, it's going to take a picture. It's going to focus and take a picture. What I found often is, in a lot of cases, it might take the picture before it actually gets focused on what you want. I don't use that very often, but it is a nice way to take a picture with just the slightest touch of the camera, and that is a lot less than jiggling that thing all around. So let's take it back off that, and let's do the AF point, and you can see that it just switches the AF point, but it doesn't focus, which is helpful as well. Manual focus assist. So if I want to focus in on this and then rotate, well actually, there you go. Now I need 2 hands. Now I can rotate this. It's going to zoom to 8x for me because that's what I have set there. I have direct manual focus turned on. That's what's allowing me to do this. I do have to hold down the shutter button right now because I'm not in manual focus. I'm in autofocus, but with DMF turned on. And it jumps to that 8x zoom. You also have the ability to do 5x or off. That is really nice, and this is one of the ways you can tell that we've got a really good sensor in this camera. When it zooms to 8x, the clarity and the quality here is excellent. The direct manual focus, as I said, it's on. The responsiveness. So these Samsung lenses that I'm using right now are focused by wire. So you can adjust how much rotation you need to do to the manual focus ring. And this is something that has been addressed in early firmware versions. It was very slow to manual focus. You really felt like you were bicycling up a hill to get that thing to turn around enough to focus. But now you can set it on high, and you've got good responsiveness there. AF release priority, focus peaking. So you saw the green little tinging. You can turn that from white to red to green. Very Christmassy. And the level, normal, high, or low, off. Normal seems to be fine for me. You can link the auto exposure to the AF point, and that's how it usually is. But watch here when we have to go back up to our Touch AF and turn our Touch AF on, and I want to focus there. Notice that little white bit I can grab out of there and separate our focus from our exposure. And now notice what our settings are: 125th of a second, f2.8, ISO 500. I can bring up something dark here in front of the exposure bit, and it changes our exposure to keep to properly exposed based on this point it's set. If I put this over in front of the focus, your exposure is going to change a little bit, but not nearly as much as when you put it right in front of exposure. So you can separate those things out. Again, not something you're going to be doing when you're focusing action, but it's still nice that that is offered in a lot of situations. Would be helpful. So you can turn that on or off. Oh, well actually, so by default that is the setting. Exposure focus separation, which I just showed, is right here. You can save the selection of the AF point, an overexposure guide, so that's kind of your zebra striping, framing, anti-shake. If you're working with a lens that has IS or OIS as Samsung calls it, you can have that turned on. You've got the mode where it only happens when you're half pressing the shutter or it's constantly running. You have your drive settings, which will allow you heard that, 15 frames a second, but maybe when you switch it to the continuous high, you don't want quite that many, so you could take it down as low as 8, which is still pretty high. You've got your timer, how long you want before it takes a picture, and you can adjust that all the way from 2 to 30 seconds. Again, a really nice level of customizability that I appreciate. And you've got your auto exposure bracketing or your white balance bracketing. And honestly, I don't know what the P-Wiz bracket is. That is something, oh, Picture Wizard. So it's going to take a picture in each of these different wizards, scene modes, effect modes, maybe is what you'd better call them, and we'll present all those to you. It's getting a little gimmicky, and if you're shooting raw, it's not really going to matter, but they're there. Interval capture. This camera will take a series of pictures, a time lapse, and then create a movie file out of that you can then play back. It's pretty snazzy. Metering mode, straightforward. Dynamic range, off. Smart range is, again, anytime you see a little plus sign or an I sign next to stuff, usually means that it's the camera making decisions for you, and it's not such a good thing. You got your flash, which is it. You've got your flash options, and then you also have, well, external flash settings, internal wireless flash, external wireless flash. So this camera is capable of wireless flash controls. And we're back to the top, which we actually didn't start at. You got your photo sizes, and this is where your ratios are linked to your photo sizes. So in a lot of places, you'll pick your size image and then you'll pick your aspect ratio. Well, in this case, you do both at the same time, and it makes sense. So if you wanted to shoot straight for Instagram at full size, that'd be a little overkill because Instagram doesn't even take them that big, but you could do that. And then, of course, you've got your 16:9, your 3:2, and your 1:1, and we're back to the top of full 28 megabytes. 28 megabytes? Yes. Megapixels, sorry. Your quality, pretty straightforward. You got your RAWs, you got your fines, your ISO. I have it on auto ISO right now. I've been happy with the quality, with the smarts of this camera using auto ISO. And you can do adjustments to your exposure with auto ISO turned on, which I appreciate. That's not always true, although more and more cameras are adopting that. That's just nice. You set your auto customization. You can say whether or not you want to be able to change it 1/3 stops or 1 stops. How high do you want that auto ISO range to go? I've got it limited at 6400 right now, but you could, if you turned your extension on, raise it higher. 6400 files out of here quite clean for a crop sensor camera, and I wouldn't have a problem going higher if I needed to. But in general, I want to make that decision for myself. OLED color, that's this viewfinder. You turn it on and things get a little richer and a little bit brighter, but I imagine it drains the battery just a little bit more. That's the only difference I can figure out. I've left it off so far. Your white balance, your picture wizard, which I didn't know a minute ago. Here they are. You can set these up and walk through, and you can see that it's changing the look, and you've got custom ones that you can dial in. You can also download additional ones from Samsung on your smartphone. It's not clear to me if you can get them into the camera or if they're just on your smartphone and you can pull them out that way. Your autofocusing mode, your single, your continuous, or your active, which is where the camera decides whether or not it should be in single or continuous. Use that for kind of your erratic moving subjects. And of course you have manual focus that's not available right now because I have AF on the lens, but if I switch it to manual focus and we go back in here, you can see that it's in manual focus and I can't switch to the other ones because I've use the physical switch on the lens. The AF area, you've got all these different options here, and if we press this OK button right here, you can see that we can adjust the left and right. We can also use this to move it around up and down, and the command wheel in the front can be used to change the size of the autofocus area. So it's nice. You can really dial it in and get it quite small. Again, in good light, I've been very happy with the autofocusing capabilities of this camera. In not so good light, it's not always the best. We'll talk more about that in the review. But you've got your multi, you've got your face detection, self-portrait AF is there as well. Touch AF, and we're back. So we've cycled all the way through the picture things. Now let's hit the movie. I'm not going to spend as much time in here. But this camera is capable of 4K at 24p in camera, and you can go to 30p and a lot in 1920, of course. Straightforward. You've got your movie quality, normal, high quality, and pro. I have not made any direct comparisons between those yet, just been leaving it on pro and very happy with the quality. It is shooting H.265, which at this time does need to be converted before editing in most processing or most video editing programs. You can change whether or not you're shooting a fast or a slow movie, kind of slow-mo right here, or speed it up. When you're shooting at 4K, you really only have an option of making it run back faster. But if you go down to smaller qualities, let's go all the way down to 60p. Now we come in here and we can see that we can play it back at half speed. So that will give us a slow-mo video. You've got your gamma control, you've got your master black levels. These are more professional level settings, including your luminance, and then fader. Which may fade automatically between clips. I haven't tried that and don't know. Your mic stuff, your audio stuff, and that's it from the movie. Now we're into our kind of setup for the camera. Before we were in the setup of the playback. So you can manage your custom modes. Noise reduction, if I was shooting JPEG, that would be allowed. Distortion correction as well, and the user display. We've got a variety of grid lines that we can display on the screen. The 3x3 is nice for setting up your framing. Center marker, key mapping. So you can assign a lot of these different keys to do other things besides what is available to you now. The one thing I still have not been able to do is truly get back button focus working. So I would like this to be AF on. And only AF on, and the shutter button to not be AF. That's back button focusing, but I maybe need to update to this newest firmware to see if that's available to us. But it does not seem that you can take focus off the shutter button. You can get to a kind of a version of it by getting focus to the front and then holding down the back and taking the picture, but it's not quite the same, and I'm not happy with that. There is an IF-in button on the lens that you can adjust to make some differences, and then you can change your touch operation on or off. This camera, when it's struggling to focus, has a green light that shines out on stuff, and you can change the brightness level of that lamp. You have an electronic shutter, so a silent shutter that is available to you in some modes of operation. Here I was mentioning way back in the connectivity setup that you can have that mobile link send an original or a little 2 megapixel or lower. I have it set on original right now, and we're back into that. And then we're back into this menu. So that was a quick overview and walkthrough of all the different menu items available to you in the Samsung NX1. If you've got any questions, just leave them right down below. My full review will be out soon. Thanks for watching.